Thank you everybody for joining today's webinar about how to leverage AI to accelerate your business. Today, we will cover a myriad of topics, but really it's your time. So we want to invite a lot of collaboration and conversation. Throughout today's webinar, we'll be talking about how to use AI to accelerate sales cycles, foster community experience, research and/or promote funds, and streamline costs. And then lastly, provide data-driven solutions. And we will end by giving a brief demo of our AssetLink platform that leverages AI to connect asset managers, financial advisors, and accredited investors based off of your attributes and characteristics. Very fortunate today to be joined by some panelists that are in this space and have been in space for a long time. One of our panelists is running behind, but on the call today, we will have Uttam Kumaran, who is founder and CEO of BrainForge AI. We will also have Sirfield Thomas, who is the Chief Technology Officer at AssetLink. So, Sir, thank you for joining us today. Before we get started, I want to take a quick poll. Want to take a quick poll for the audience, just to kind of gauge where you are in your journey when it comes to utilizing AI in your business development efforts. So for the audience, the first poll: do you currently use AI for your business development efforts? Now, Surf, you obviously come with a lot of experience in the space. Knowing that our audience is investment professionals, what do you think this answer is going to be?
I would say the large majority may be a no, with some special players saying yes, if they've done things like some chat GPT here or there. And fun fact, the answer should actually skew more to the yes, because if you think you aren't using AI, you might be using it unbeknownst to you. And we'll talk about a little bit of that stuff. But yeah, so I expect it to be overly no, but I think it should be yes.
All right, so let's end the poll here and share results.
Okay, love it. So I was
So
right on the
36, yeah. So 36% of the audience said they do use AI, and 64% no. So thank you for that. So we're very fortunate to have our Chief Technology Officer, who is the brainchild behind building AssetLink, Surf Thomas. If you look him up, you'll notice that he has experience working for top tech firms like Spotify, in firms like PayPal, in firms like WeWork. So there's no one more qualified, in my opinion, to be able to speak on how his experience with these top tech firms could allow and translate into the investment management and distribution industry, right? And the way I see it, if you could curate a list of songs at scale at Spotify and know who is going to like what song before they actually know the song, then we could be able to create a platform that allows financial professionals to source, diligence, discover each other based off of preferences and attributes. So, Surf, thank you for joining us. Would love for you to introduce yourself, and then if you could start talking about the first topic on the agenda, which is how to leverage AI to accelerate sales cycles.
Awesome. So I guess I'll start off with a question. For the panelist that says yes, that was, again, very interesting. I'd love if you guys could type in the chat which ways that you're actually like leveraging and using AI, so I can just figure out some of the tools and some of the ways that you think you're using and leveraging AI. And I guess from that perspective, leveraging AI to power the sales cycle. I'll talk a little bit about Spotify. I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing at AssetLink, and I'll try to bridge the gap between known AI and unknown AI. So a lot of the day-to-day, well, let's start with the known AI versus unknown AI. a lot of your day to day, you might be using AI unbeknownst to you. Everybody on this panel has probably used Google at some point today, right? The thing behind the search box is powered by massive, massive, massive amounts of machine learning. It used to just be contextualized search, but it also merges in click data, backlink data, traffic, event data, all sorts of other data, demographics data. And they actually do run it, I mean, it's Google, they actually do run it through a large neural network model. When I use words like neural network, just think like big brain models, AI, things of that nature. Now, let's talk a little bit targeted about how we leveraged and used it at a place that I worked at and how we're leveraging and kind of using that here at AssetLink. So Devon brought up Spotify. I worked at Spotify on the music teams. So most people think of Spotify as these front end application where you listen to music. There's also a back end internal applications on like how music actually gets added to the platform. And we use a lot of AI, ML, machine learning to figure out like what you're listening to, understand the context, and recommend new songs to you. So when people are like, "Oh my God, the recommendations are so good," there's a lot of science behind it. When you listen to a song on Spotify, we take the event that you listened, how long you listened, and take that as contextual data. And then there's a large corpus of a breakdown of what that song is. So it's a rap song with a lo-fi melody written by this person. There's about 150 to 500 different actual contexts that we add to music, on top of the fact that you're just listening to it, to decide on what the thing is that we recommend next, right? So the first layer is what we're talking about when we're thinking about AI, which if you talk to any AI practitioner, they'd say it's not really AI, it's a recommendation system. So when I say words like recommendation, you're thinking Spotify's recommendations and you're thinking about Netflix style recommendations. Those are really just matching services, right? It's like given some context, I'm going to map you to another context. AI really happens when you start thinking about and trying to predict the person's actions next. And you can take a lot of that contextual data to do the same thing, given even more data like demographics and things of that nature. So here, I've taken that same context at Asset Link, and I'm like, how do we think about the way money moves from the data that's easy to find, plus these new core data pieces that will allow people to connect together and us to recommend you and leverage AI to recommend you where the next dollar is coming from. And the way that we do that is we marry the financial data, which is actually very easy to find with, well, easy-ish to find with opt-in data about your demographics. And I think that part is the part that is actually key, right? So let's take a look at it this way, right? I can look up anyone in here who's a financial advisor by your CRD, right? And actually figure out a lot of information about you, what firm you work with, what the AUM is, some basic things about your strategy, et cetera, right? Now that's all fine and good, especially when we're talking about easy data to find and categorize. And that's most of the data when you think about the financial and the wealth management world that gets repackaged and sold in a bunch of different ways. But that information by itself isn't really where the sales actually happen. When you think about the way that money is moved, right? Money in of itself is a concept created by humans, right? If I know you and I like you, sans your strategy, we could do business together. And then I need to also know about things like your strategy, how you think, all of those sorts of stuff. So I'll give you a scenario. Devon comes to me. He has a brilliant idea on how to make $10 million. Great. I don't know Devon from a shoe in the wall. Why would I give you my money? What if we took that same scenario and I knew this about Devon? He liked playing basketball, right? Same guy, same strategy. He likes playing basketball. I also like playing basketball. What if we met up on a basketball court? That's what we're trying to do here at Asset Link. We're saying, on top of the fact that you have an interesting strategy, what are your actual interests? And then what are the interests of the people that you're targeting? If you like fishing, we could find you people with money movement transaction who also like fishing in your locality. So you can set up a fishing trip and actually then talk about strategies in a known and familiar setting. So when we think about it, we think about enhanced recommendations, right? Which is data that we have to pull and glean from a lot of different places to put that sort of thing together. So hopefully that answers your question, or I might have just got
Yeah.
crazy on you
No,
guys.
no, absolutely it does. And when you start talking about leveraging AI to accelerate your sales process, if there's a captive audience, right, and you're able to identify your target audience in a way that, you all have similar interest or, similar portfolios or, similar backgrounds, that's going to accelerate your sales process, right? Because if it takes multiple touch points to get buy-in and you could artificially, um, you know, uh, kind of turbocharge those touch points by using AI in terms, and then you'll make your sales cycle a lot shorter. Uttam, thanks for joining us. Uttam joins us as founder and CEO from Brainforge AI. Happy to have him on the call. Uttam, if you want, you should be able to go on camera. So, same question for you. How have you seen in your history creating BrainForge.ai, and then also your history working with the eccentric Adam Newman at WeWork, being able to leverage AI to accelerate sales process?
Yeah, thanks, Devon, and great to be here. Yeah, so my background is in data and reporting and analytics. Um, I've actually worked very closely with sales teams at many different firms on this very problem, from basic just understanding of what's in the pipeline, attributes about leads, and how to move those through the funnel, to actually understanding things like funnel velocity. How are people moving through the opportunity? How is the opportunity moving to close? What are the steps in which people are typically disqualified? And right now, I think we're really reaching a great part of the market where there's so many tools available to actually help you both accelerate folks that you're disqualifying and making sure that you can get rid of clients and opportunities that have a very low chance of converting, and then making sure you and your team are focused on the opportunities that have a high chance of converting. And so a lot of what we've done with data science, machine learning, AI is things like lead scoring. So lead scoring is a basic way of just attributing a score to a lead. It's a pretty basic concept. The real sophistication comes in actually making that score take in a lot more information than just who, what, when, but actually their propensity to convert, other deals that they've done with your company, interesting information about the firm itself, interesting information about the person that you're communicating with, and taking in all that data and actually synthesizing it into a score that says, this is a lead that you want to spend more time with and nurture and actually convert. And then the second point I'll make is actually being able to measure that these different methods like lead scoring, like churn prediction, those things actually work. So the one thing that we've measured at a lot of different companies, from WeWork to a company I worked at, Flowcode, where I was leading data, is velocity through stages. So understanding how a contact moves from an open opportunity all the way to closed won or closed lost, understanding how much time it spends in each stage, and then understanding what are the key drivers towards moving things towards conversion, right? In sales, momentum is the biggest thing. And then also you want to make sure that your best closers are having meetings with folks that have a high, that are looked at, they will convert. And so the biggest thing that I've worked on is helping people understand deal velocity through each of those stages, as well as understanding that the folks in their pipeline have a high propensity to convert, and then getting rid of all the noise in between.
No, that's incredible. So as far as the financial professionals on the call, how could they use data and analytics and AI in their day-to-day job?
Yeah, so I would say, if you've used ChatGPT, if you use any AI tool right now, a lot of the work that you probably use it for is for summarization, is for creating content. But we're actually beginning, even at my company and at companies that I've worked with, beginning to use it to understand holistically whether a client, based on your positioning, their positioning, and the opportunity, whether there's opportunity to actually craft deals in a better way, craft unique discount schedules. And that's where I'm finding AI to actually be really, really effective. Lead scoring and things like measuring whether a client has a high propensity to close is something that has been done over the past few years. But really, the best thing you want to learn now is taking in your positioning as a business and providing that to a language model, and then understanding, hey, we're trying to establish a partnership here. Here are our levers, and actually narrating that to AI. It's been really effective for me in my business, as well as for some folks I know that are selling high volume. So in financial services, and in any sales job, the goal is to get meetings and be able to translate value. So making sure that your positioning, your pitch is tailored towards your customer. It's not just a boilerplate copy, that you understand, hey, your company is going through XYZ transition, or you're looking to grow XYZ part of your business, and this is how we're positioned to help you. Getting that narrative down, I think, is something that AI is really, really helpful with. And then also understanding different avenues that you may not have thought of to get a deal done, whether it's long-term commitments, discounts, being able to actually craft a strategy around that and have something to bounce ideas off of. AI has been really, really effective at that, and is now getting actually used by platforms like Salesforce and HubSpot within their products themselves to actually help sales teams globally kind of push deals forward.
Thank you for that. So we want to make this as clever as possible. There's a lot of misnomers about AI, but there's also a lot of ways that it could help in your business. So feel free to ask a question in the the chat or the Q&A box below. The next topic, while people are asking questions, the next topic that we'd like to talk about is how to leverage AI to research or to promote investment solutions. Now, this is something that's near and dear to kind of my heart. Creating Asset Link and my experience over the past 17 years at firms like Vanguard and American Century and Alger and JP Morgan and Merrill Lynch. But I'm curious, from an Uttam or a Surf's perspective, I know this is a new world for you, but how have you been able to see folks that have used your product and service in the past, and how to leverage and how AI can be leveraged on the investment side of the business?
I guess I can start.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll start on how I did it somewhere else, then I'll start about how we kind of think about an asset link. So when we think about AI, and Devon talked about it a little bit earlier, I have a lot of years in the financial industry, worked at PayPal, led risk and dispute specifically for the Venmo product. The thing that we focused on most AI at a company like Venmo, which we're leveraging here, is how do we protect against bad actors? So in the risk department, we had a modeling score that had 150 different variables to say the two people in this transaction, well, it was 150 per person, so 300 variables to say between these two persons, what is the likelihood that this transaction should not go through? And we actually put that through AI ML to come up with a score to tell us, like, maybe we should stop this transaction. And we did it to the tune of $100 billion US, right? Lost budget for my team was $150 million. So if we lost less than that a year, they would throw us a party, right? So we're talking about big budgets, lots of money, using AI to just sniff out these financial transactions. And I was heading up OFAC and SOX compliance. So we're also talking about government regulations, that sort of thing. When I think about it in this spec, I think about it in the same way, maybe not from the government perspective, but I think in the inverse, how do I figure out what the likelihood of two people to actually interact and exchange money, right? So from that perspective, is like, what kind of demographic information, on top of all of the financial information, on top of all the strategy information, can I put together and find matches for? And we call our match service, which Uttam will talk about, the affinity. What is the affinity between these two people? If we take person A, let's in this scenario call person A a wealth manager, and we're trying to match all of the accredited investors who would give them money, what is that propensity? And the way that we match it is like, if he likes basketball and I like basketball, maybe there's some propensity there. If he likes drama films and I like drama films, maybe there's a propensity there, right? So we're taking deeper data than just the finances to create those matches. I guess I'll swing it over to you, Tom.
Yeah, and the additional thing I'll talk about AI, and we speak a lot about this, is the ability to process unstructured data. So beyond just what you fill out on your profile on Asset Link, we actually are beginning to process things like videos, webinars, case studies, any documents that you upload. We're actually able to use language models to process and understand the key traits of those, and then understand how those relate to other users. The big parts of these sorts of networks that are typically tough is that they ask for a lot of data. And if you don't fill out your data, it's really hard for us to do matches. Well, not only do we have a really high amount of folks that are filling out all their profiles, we want to get smarter with the amount of data that we can consider in actually making those matches. So all the hard work that goes into your website, case studies that you upload, documents, free text that may be your description, we want to take all that information and understand, and then leverage AI and data science to really help boost that match. And the other thing I constantly want to share is the feedback. So what's important to us is understanding whether not only we've made a match happen, but that a meeting has been booked for you, and that there's a positive outcome. And that feedback loop is actually very important for us to be able to understand how our models work, and understand that we're promoting the right people, and that we're considering the right factors with the right weights in order to make that connection. And so our number one goal is to improve the amount of meetings that you get, and the amount of positive outcomes from those meetings that you can have on our platform, and making sure that that process is super streamlined, right? No more going back and forth on emails and scheduling, and trying to understand piecemeal of people's companies and their strategies from their websites, or other seminars that they've done. We want to consolidate all that information into our Asset Link profiles, and then help you kind of understand, hey, here's a short list of 10 other people on the profile that we know if you reach out to, you're guaranteed to kind of move forward with them. So those are the things that we're thinking about on our side. Devon, you're on me.
Yeah, one thing I get excited about, and what people I think are now starting to see how everything is connected, is that we at Asset Link are in the forefront of bridging the gap between assets and wealth. Now, in order to do that, you have to have a line of sights into people that have the money, the financial advisors that are managing the relationship, and then the asset managers that are managing the underlying securities. So how do you think about, leveraging data for accredited investors, right? And how are you able to do it? This is whether Surf or whether Utam, is that, like, if we're able to get enough accredited investor data and preferences and attributes, the commonality there is like, well, if a financial advisor knows that a credit investor on Asset Link is going through a money in motion life activity, right? But then you also know that this person on the accredited investor side has a higher propensity to look into real estate funds or Bitcoin, and then being able to leverage Asset Link to identify, source, discover, diligence those type of strategies that the end client would like, then that completes the evolution of capital, right? So how do you think about AI being able to leverage all of those different data points, from the people that are getting money to the people that are managing relationships to the people that are actually managing securities?
Yeah, so on my end, I see the ability to use AI, and in particular language models, is to help us understand beyond just some of the math that we're doing to understand whether folks will get a positive outcome from matching with each other, whether there's other opportunities based on information that we don't have, or information in aggregate. For example, kind of what Devon said is what we're competing with is that entire life cycle, and trying to, as it stands today. And so wanted to make sure that that entire life cycle, the reason why we can kind of grease that up and have that happen on the platform and have a ton of successes, by measuring that feedback and making sure that we can understand whether meetings are happening between all three parties. And then the second thing on the AI side, So again, there's a lot of information both on the web and in videos and documents that typically aren't considered when doing this sort of matching, right? We rely heavily on drop downs, things about your profile that you put in, but through our partners and through data that we're getting, a lot of which is public and available, we're able to not only clean, host, and manage that data, but then leverage that for this matching, and then continue to leverage that using both traditional matching algorithms and data science, as well as using language models to understand contextually between these two individuals what opportunities are there given the entire scope of data that we have on both of them, right? So this is just beyond matching one-to-one, whether you live in the same location or you're kind of in the same strategy. We want to take your entire profiles and we leverage AI to actually understand holistically what opportunities could be there. And that's something that, is just evolving right now. And I'm really, really excited for us to kind of be able to leverage a lot of the tooling and vendors that we use to keep Asset alive to kind of make that happen. So.
And sir, same question to you. And I know, you are, the brains behind, the tech work, right?
Mhm.
So, you have a unique perspective, right? Being able to see accredited investors filling out their data, being able to see financial advisors filling out their data, being able to see asset and fund managers filling out their data, and being able to see the scores change as
Yeah.
as the engagement increases, right? So
Yeah.
what are you seeing there as far as the entire life cycle, and then being able to build out the model and being able to build out the AI tools to be able to truly capture everything that is important to our users?
Hmm. Could you repeat the question one more time? Because I want to
Right.
make
So
sure.
the so right. So we were talking about being able to use Asset Link and AI to be able to promote funds, right? Promote and also research investment solutions, I should say. Right. So when you go back and you start looking at the life cycle, like everything that needs to take place for a investment solution to be sourced all the way down to recommended, and then the accredited investor would be the buyer, right? So how are you building out the type of tools um, to be able to pull that off?
Awesome. All right. So when we think about your fund and we think about your strategy level, right? We're thinking again, the finance data that could be checked, whether we're talking 13F, ADV data, the data that you give us, right? And that really gives us a synopsis of who you are, what your strategy is, and how you do. Then we're marrying that with a lot of other data about you, like who you are. And I think the biggest key that we have here, and I think we have another question that I'm going to summarize this into an interesting story around like who you are, right? Because when you think about matching a wealth manager with an accredited investor, there's a bunch of things that are misaligned, right? The data that is easy to get about a financial advisor is the financials, right? But the who you are, your demographic data is stuff that we have to opt in or stuff that we have to search and scrape. And I'll talk about some of that in a little bit. But when you think about the inverse and you think about an accredited investor, the easy data for them to find is the demographics information. It's hard to think about what their financial interests are, right? But like you actually need a mapping of both to really gel and create this affinity. And we have a myriad of ways that we're doing this on the Asset Link platform. Let me not spill the secret sauce, but just know, given your name and given like limited things like your email address, we can find a lot of demographic information about you. And most of you have probably bought some sort of data sheet from one of the various providers. So we're leveraging on-platform and off-platform data to actually do that matchmaking and leveraging AI to give us the intelligence around what these matches should be. So gone are the days where you just buy a sheet of 100,000 names and just someone gives it to you and says, have at it. Now we're trying to take that data and actually add intelligence in it to give you the knowledge to act on it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's thank you for that. Once again, we invite folks to answer questions. when we're about to put up our second poll of questions, but we're going to say, let me launch the second poll now. Okay, great. Do you think concepts like Spotify or Netflix would translate to the investment industry? This is a good one.
And I have an interesting story to talk about when we get to the community building aspect.
Well, Tom, you missed the first poll. But what do you think the audience was going to say here?
I don't know. This is a really interesting question. I think, there's something here to do with content and content production. There's also something to do here with, letting a broad amount of people consume content and there's some kind of financial economics in terms of the business models of both those companies. I think Surf is, probably closest. So I'm interested to hear about his experience with Spotify and kind of what he thinks about this. So
I think a lot of people are going to say yes. And I think it's interesting when we talk about content and the meaning of content in the financial realm. And I'll give you a perfect example. Everybody knows about the GameStop thing that happened, right? And that's literally a perfect example of content. Oh, we're a 50-50 split. That's so interesting. But everyone understands that, again, a bunch of people on Reddit got together and did a thing. And that's a perfect example of like content generation, being able to like put the masses together to create some community that took some action. And I have an interesting story about community that we'll get to later. So I don't want to spoil it right now. But very interesting that we got a split there, a 50-50 split. Devon, I think you did.
Yeah, so it's a 50-50 split. And I think the folks that are saying no, maybe it's because money is a personal thing, right? So the social concept in the community may not resonate. Also the regulatory issues, right? I mean, would the SEC or FINRA have a problem if people are getting investment solutions off of a social network? So I think that could also be one of the reasons why folks are saying no. But how can but if you start thinking about AI and you can start thinking about how you could use neural networks to get information from videos, right? And I view that as the next frontier. I think when you're starting to see all the videos that are on TikTok, all the videos that are on Instagram, all the videos that are on Reels and Facebook, all the videos that are on YouTube, and I think there's an unprecedented opportunity for the investment community. No matter if you're, an asset fund manager or financial advisor, I think there's an unprecedented opportunity to leverage all the data that's already out there, leveraging AI to get that affinity once again, right? And I think there's a large opportunity there. So it's interesting just to know that 50% said no, but I also think that there's so much opportunity coming down the trough that I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And curious of your thoughts, sir.
Oh, so give me 2 seconds. I want to talk about this one deeply. Give me 2 seconds.
Are you
all right?
Are you
Can
sharing?
you guys see my screen?
I cannot.
All right, cool. Can everybody see my
Okay,
screen? All right, let's talk about a story about a real investment I made that actually came about through community building, and now is how I think about when I shape what happens here at DFD. Everybody can see my screen. I just want to drag this down because this window. And now we're going to talk about a real wealth management situation where money was transacted with me and how it came to be. All right, so we have a friend of ours Sam Dean, who we actually did a webinar with, but sans before our platform was ready. I met Sam Dean through a mutual friend. And the instance that I met Sam Dean in, he's a wealth manager, and I'm actually an accredited investor. I've been an accredited investor and an angel for a very long time before joining AssetLink. He was actually doing a syndicated round for a company called Turnkey. So long story short, I met him through a friend and through my due diligence process. Um, you can look at his website here, but I found that me and him had a very important similarity that meant a lot to me. So before the money, I keep saying this thing about the demographic and understanding the person behind it. Money is the concept made by people. If you get two people together and the two people agree and like each other, the likelihood that they exchange money happens at, I would say, a higher affinity. So I'll give you the reasons as to what happened, as to why I gave Dean some money, and I'm actually an investor, an angel investor in Turnkey. So here's a picture of Dean from Instagram, and this is data that we shape and actually pull now on AssetLink. As you can see, he's a father of two girls. Well, if you know anything about me, I'm also a father of two girls. So here's an affinity matching, right? From content on Instagram that you wouldn't know looking at our financial data. Here's the investment that he was talking about, right? Now I need to do my due diligence. Who do I go to? I go to my due diligence guy, his name is Devon. I was like, hey, Devon, you know anything about Turnkey? Guess what Devon tells me? He's like, Tyrone's my friend, man. He's actually on our board. Boom, now due diligence done, right? So I know the person, we have an intimate connection. I can do due diligence. I'm like, oh, snap, Devon's my guy when it comes to investment solutions, right? He knows this guy. This dude's on our board. I can reach him. I can talk to him. And then boom, here's term sheet, right? This was an actual transaction that actually happened based on data that you would never think to put together, right? It's a myriad of who the people are, right? And once that works, and then I can figure out a way to do due diligence, right? And that works, then money can get transacted. So even before I can even tell you about his investment solution, it's like, do I trust this person? And as you looked through that scenario, there's a lot of layers of trust that were built over time, which allowed this transaction to happen. So when it comes to where your next dollar is coming from, it's really coming from the affinity that you can create beyond just the financial and beyond what's easy to find to create these mappings. And we're looking at things like people's actual lives, like again, that same scenario. If you like fishing, because we can find that from seeing you fishing a lot on your Instagram, and we know that the accredited investor you're reaching out to also likes fishing, we know that you have some similarities, and we want to bind you there, and then also bind the financials in on top of it. So yeah, when I think about community building and content, this is why content, video, imagery is so important, because like I would never be able to glean that he's a father of two girls from anything other than Instagram, right? It says none of that in this anywhere on his entire website, right? And the website's going to tell me about his debt management strategies, his insurance and risk management, all of that stuff. But like, cool, people contact me every day with that, right? Like, who are you as a person? This is who he is. And because of that, that allowed me to open the door to even have a conversation.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And what I would like to do now is actually show you AI in motion with AssetLink, and how no matter whether if you're an asset manager or you're a financial advisor, you're able to scale your business development efforts in a tech-enabled, cost-effective way. So what I'll do now is I'll go to our wealth management portal. Now, if you're a wealth manager, there are a few value adds here. So being able to source, discover, diligence, and eventually transact differentiated investment solutions is the first one. Being able to be in a community with other like-minded advisors that allows you the opportunity to communicate and potentially acquire, bolt on, or sell your practice to. And then third, being able to get searched by accredited investors based off of your attributes. So all of those happen almost all in real time by the use of AI. So if I'm a wealth manager, I'm able to go onto the platform. I'm able to have my hero video here, my investment policy statement, my general information, right? So if I'm an RIA focused on next gen investors and their financial needs, we're able to use generative AI to be able to take keywords from this and match it to where we ask our accredited investors what is their ideal financial advisor. We're able to see personal information. We're able to see ideal asset manager, and your ideal asset manager is based off of your investment preferences. So AUM, your top asset class holdings, your vehicles that you prefer, anything from ethnicity, from gender, investment preferences, all the way to the alternative views, your plans for growth, your investment strategy, your vehicles used, any type of webinars interested in. And then we take it a next step further, and we're actually asking, who is your ideal client? So for this, I'm looking for a C-suite tech founder with intermediate investment experience with income from 1 to 5 million. That's a Christian, that's diverse in generation, and that's a millennial with investable assets for 1 to 10 million. Then we're able to curate a list of asset managers and accredited investors based off your preferences. And this happens relatively speaking in real time. Now, if this isn't if AI match scoring isn't your thing, you could actually take it in control of your own hands and search out your investor type. So you could search out accredited investors, you could search out asset managers, and you could actually search out other advisors, all real time, and you could sort it through custodian, your roles, your location, account type, personal information, ideal asset manager, investment information. Now, if you happen to be an asset manager, you could do the same as well. You could have your hero video, you have your personal information, ideal investor, your strategies. Within your strategies, you're able to put AUM, a link to your data room, your title. You're also able to put a hero video up here explaining your strategy. And once again, in real time, we curate a list of wealth managers, which ends up being immediate top of funnel lead gen. So I'm an asset manager. My ideal investor, of course, it's loading here, but my ideal investor is an asset manager that invest in venture and private equity and small cap value. I could go here, click on a profile, and have the ability. Oh, let me log in, and have the ability to search out advisors that are actually looking for that strategy. And if you're in an environment where it is very difficult to identify who is the ideal investor for you, this ends up being top of funnel lead generation for you. And of course, I can't, or I guess I don't know my the password for the for my own platforms. But that just gives you a sense of how we can enable your business development efforts at scale with AssetLink. So what I would love to do is stop sharing my screen, and I would open it up for Q&A with the last few minutes. And for Q&A, you could just go down to the bottom of the screen and ask away. And so while people are asking questions, Surf, just real quick about the community, what do you think I feel like the sky's the limit if you're able to have a community feel within the investment space. Are you sharing yours now?
So if you
Hey, I'm sharing my screen to show some stuff off about how we do community and how we mine data.
Awesome.
I think community is huge. I think it's huge from two perspectives. In the story that I shared, it was like a community effort that allowed me to do that investment because, again, I'm not the I'm not the biggest money on the block, but I'm gonna do my due diligence. And when I give money, I need it to be purposeful and meaningful with someone that I trust. So as you saw the due diligence process that I did even to get into that deal with Turnkey, right? It's like it touched Sam, it touched Turnkey as the investment. I even spoke to Devon about it. And it just was so serendipitous that he knew the other person that I was invested in. So it's and then we actually all did a webinar together. So it's like that community building aspect and that like that demographic data is so real because again, money is a man-made concept, right? It's a human concept. So we need to put the humanity back into that piece, right? If you lead with the humanity first, the money will follow. Um, I'll answer this question, but I just want to show off a little piece before I get into answering the question. So here's somebody that was supposed to be on the call today. I don't know if Al Harris is here. And here's some of the data that we were able to mine on him, just being given his name and his email. That's all I was given, right? I figured out what company he's working for, where his company is located, uh, his age, his gender, his average account size, and I'll show you where we pulled some of that data from, right? So we're able to find him here, CRD, a bunch of the information here, look him up, found out that he was the vice president. And then where it starts getting hard, which is why we also want you to come on platform, we actually went to the company's website, looked him up, but for some reason, Al, who I wish was here, is not on the company website. So like it's like we can grab so much data, but then sometimes the data breaks, right? And then like that stops our process. We're still trying to like find things like looked on LinkedIn. He's not updated on the LinkedIn for the company, right? So it's like we're gonna pull the data from all the different sources and create these composites. And a lot of the data is going to be really strong. Sometimes we'll run into roadblocks, but then now we have this composite for him, and it is the email that he registered to for this link, right? So now he can come and claim his profile and adjust all of the different things that have changed, right? Which gives us a better composite score on him. So we're pulling off-market data, on-prem data, 13F data, ADV data, right? To create a composite of you. And then we're doing it to everyone else to create these communities and saying, hey, you should reach out to these people because they're, as we say right here, profile matches. So similar to you. Sweet. Does that answer that question?
Yeah,
And then,
and I answered the question. So as far as like as a financial advisor, you would go to AssetLink.ai to be able to leverage AI to um, as far as growing your business to match, to communicate, engage with accredited investors that have a similar score than you, right? And that could be down to the zip code, it could be down to um, you know, veteran status, race, sexual orientation, where you went to school, your passions, your interests. So AssetLink actually is automatic top of funnel lead gen, and because we're leveraging AI, this is running 24/7, right? And the more that the investors and the advisors engage, the higher the match score becomes. And it also allows you to communicate on platforms, sending messages directly to these accredited investors, and they have the ability to see your profile. And if you both opt in, then you have the ability to schedule a meeting, right? So the power of AI is here to be able to help you grow your business in a cost-effective, tech-enabled way, and that's why we've built AssetLink. Anonymous, do you compete with Catchlight AI? So we are different than Catchlight. I know Yelena, the co-founder. She's done a fantastic job building Catchlight. We're different, right? We are essentially a business development tool, right, for you to grow your business. They'd be a complement and not a competitor. Utam, I know you did a lot of competitive analysis and a lot of work and having conversation with Catchlight. What do you think there?
Yeah, I think very similarly. We had a chance to meet with their team, and I didn't think at all that we're um, like in any way competing. I actually just think, in sales and in nurturing your business and your book, you need just multiple strategies to actually be able to understand who your customers are, understand what their needs are. And I think, as a business, you should be leveraging a couple different sources, right? Whether it's us, whether it's others, whether it's in-person meetings. We're just here to become a tool by which you can really drive added meetings, and you can really, we can help leverage our data science and our teams to kind of put the people that you should be meeting right in front of you. So yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, and then there's Asset Link. Of course, there's Catch Slide. There's AI Identified. So you're starting to see more and more companies that are having the concepts around who are the people behind the matches, right? We're taking it a step further, right? Being able to facilitate conversations and facilitate meetings, which leads to real AUM growth. We've had, and we've matched advisors with $250 million of accredited investors, right? So this is real life case, right? A use case that we had was we had a 41-year-old medical professional, who's a doctor during COVID, started COVID testing centers, and he was making $400,000 as a doctor, and he accumulated $41 million over over 2 years. He had a Chase financial advisor, in a Chase bank account, and he came to our platform looking for a hedge fund or a real estate fund to put his money to work in. He actually matched with not only some of our asset managers, but he matched with some of our financial advisors. The net result was he was able to actually meet with a financial advisor in person off platform, that he met on platform, that he was able to pick two advisors, and he spread $41 million across two advisors. But because he mentioned the type of funds he was looking for, the advisor was able to use the two investment funds in his portfolio, and everyone won in that case. The accredited investor won because he was kind of clueless of what to do with this $41 million. He wanted capital preservation, and he wanted his money to grow, and then he wanted to grow with no risk, and right, it just didn't make sense, right? So he needed financial help. And then the financial advisor was his emotional circuit breaker and saved him from himself, and was able to get these the hedge funds and these other alternative funds in a wrap portfolio. So everybody won in that case. Let's see. Next question. I apologize if you touched on this earlier, but how was your platform received by BDs? So that's a good question. When you say BDs, are you talking about like the Merrill Lynch's and the UBS's of the world? If so, we're in constant conversation with them. We are in talks with a very large wirehouse broker dealer to do a pilot program, and we've talked to all of them. They have all expressed interest. We need to get some compliance approvals with some of them to make sure that the public profile is it has the ability to be seen, and that they have the ability to monitor. When you start talking about others like Securities America or OASIC, we haven't had conversations with them yet. However, we do have representatives, we do have advisors from those firms that are on platform now. Happy to have a conversation with them if you'd like to facilitate. Is there any additional questions? Okay, so what we would say is this: we are confident with our use cases of AssetLink that if you're not incorporating AI to increase your business development efforts, we think you're kind of missing the boat here. AssetLink is a one-stop solution for advisors and asset managers to connect with their next client by the use of data and AI. We'd love the opportunity to demo the platform for you personally, and give you a free trial to play with the platform and see if you can integrate this into your day-to-day business development efforts. So on behalf of myself, Devon Drew, founder and CEO of AssetLink, Surf Thomas, Chief Technology Officer of AssetLink, and Uttam Kumaran, founder and CEO of Brainforge AI. We would like to thank you for the time. There will be a brief survey after. How do we get connected? Michael, you can reach out directly to me at devon@assetlink.ai, and I will type that in the chat feed. I'm also on all social platforms. You can find me on LinkedIn, Devon Drew. And this is our baby. We know that being able to leverage AI is just at the forefront. And there's going to be a lot of different tools coming out, probably over the next months and years. So we appreciate the consideration, and we hope to see you as a user on. Oh, we got one more question. Oh, no, we're good. And we hope to see you as a user. Please answer the survey. It will allow us to get better, and we look forward to talking to you soon.